Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the public. The time is 6 p.m. The date is April 28th, 2026. We are going to go ahead and call this special meeting to order. We'll go ahead and start with the roll call of introductions, starting in numerical order.
Do I go now? I'm Rob
Commissioner
Gifford. I'm
Gifford.
here, and I am as District 02.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tripti Patel. She, her pronouns. I represent Single Member District 2A03, which is the bulk of the historic Foggy Bottom, and I'm also the chairperson of ANC 2A.
Hi, I'm Ed Comer. I represent 2A04, which for purposes of today's meeting, primary interest is the Watergate, but I also have areas, Kennedy Center and the western portion of Foggy Bottom.
I am John Dolan, Commissioner of 2A06.
Everyone, my name is Jim Malik from Single Member District 2A08, which includes the Avenue, West End Place, Winston House, the President, just to name a few.
Hey everyone, my name is Sean. I represent 2A09, which includes 2400 and 2424 Pennsylvania Avenue, as well as the Varsity on K, St. Mary's Court, and a number of GW student housing buildings.
Okay, seeing that all commissioners have introduced themselves, quorum has been established. We can go ahead and proceed on with the meeting. I am going to go ahead and call for unanimous consent of the agenda.
Objection.
You recognize Commissioner Malik.
Oh, I'm objecting to the call for unanimous consent.
Okay, going ahead by the division of the House then, doing this in roll call order. Commissioner Gifford.
So I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to move the first item to the second position on the agenda.
I'd second.
Okay, this is going to be voting on the amended agenda. Going ahead by the division of the House.
Point of order.
Commissioner Malik, you recognized.
This is a vote on my motion to amend, not a vote on the amended agenda.
Okay, so this is to vote on his amendment. Going by division of the House, starting in numerical order.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 Abstain.
Okay. Vote passes on the amended agenda. Calling for adoption of the amended agenda. Going ahead by the division of the House. Starting in
Yes.
numerical order. No.
Yes.
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 Okay. The amendment has now been agended. Commissioner Comer, I will go ahead and give you the floor.
Thank you very much. We have before us a proposed resolution, draft resolution that was posted a week ago with a couple of very small modifications posted a couple of days ago. Basically, the office building at 2600 Virginia Avenue Northwest, which is part of the Watergate complex, has proposed to convert half of the building space to residences. They're currently office space. And they appeared at the ANC early in March. We had I set up early in April discussions, meetings where they met first with the presidents of the other Watergate buildings. And then in early and mid-April, we set up individual meetings at each of the Watergate residential buildings, which could be affected by this. In those meetings, what we learned was the primary concern, particularly of residents of Watergate West, was about parking and concern about congestion. Brian Friedman, who is the head of 2600, made commitments to work with us on parking, assure the parking would be available and the rates would be reasonable. And in return, what the resolution, we have spelled those out in more detail in an attached memorandum of understanding, which got finalized just 2 or 3 hours ago, but I will explain. The resolution basically supports the proposal application before the zoning commission. It indicates it's consistent with the district's policies of converting office buildings and providing more residential housing, particularly close to downtown. In return for the commitments which were made and are spelled out in the memorandum of understanding. With that, I'll stop and ask if there are any questions. In general, I will say that my understanding is there is broad support of this. The Watergate buildings are very interconnected. We share parking lots, we share driveways, and parking came up as the primary issue of concern. As I read the zoning commission rules, in situations such as like this, the zoning commission encourages affected parties to mitigate any potential adverse impacts. And I think that's exactly what we tried to do here. So any questions from my colleagues?
Commissioner Comer, are you moving the matter?
What?
Commissioner Comer, are you moving the matter? You have to move the matter.
I am moving the matter, yes.
Okay. Is there a
But
second of record?
I will explain the MOU in
Second.
more detail.
Okay, so matter's been moved by Commissioner Comer, seconded by Vice Chairperson Dolan. Any questions or comments from colleagues for Commissioner Comer? Commissioner Comer, you seem to have gotten the off easy from your colleagues. I don't have any questions. I do have one comment for you. I know that this was a lot of work that you put into it. So I did want to acknowledge that you did put in some real work on this. And I know it was not easy considering you were abroad for part of this workload. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Let me run through the memorandum of understanding. Indy Ellis, if you could put that up. The background, the first half of the memorandum is to try to explain the background and the interrelationship between the different buildings within the Watergate complex. And again, I should emphasize, it is a planned unit development, and that permits and the zoning rules, I think, permits a degree of flexibility. But when the complex was built, there are various aspects of the complex that are sort of interdependent. The first full paragraph, just describes what the application was. It points out, what it proposes to do, and it mentions that in addition, the application doesn't specifically ask for any zoning relief for Watergate Museum and ancillary coffee facilities, but the applicant has indicated that he's very supportive of that. That's first paragraph, full paragraph. Number one, the next paragraph just says, we support the proposal, and talks about applicant's lawyer likes to use the word proffers. The applicant has offered to address certain issues. Paragraph one indicates that's a new paragraph. It indicates the zoning rules did not require 2,600 to add any additional parking spaces. Paragraph two sort of explains, and this is more understandable in an attached map. It explains the interrelationship between different building garages. It turns out for Watergate West residents to access their garage, and on two different levels, they have to go through the 2,600 office building garage. So there's some degree of overlap. The next paragraph three talks about where there is currently a place in the entrance to these two garages is also a place where there's a delivery point for the hotel. We often have trucks that sit there and block an entire lane. It can be congested. It can be dangerous because you have cars going in two directions in a very, very small space. And the addition says, while no changes are being proposed for this area, the driveway could become more congested if we have new residents coming in and out and valets and all of that. Paragraph four just basically explains that, we have had these meetings that I mentioned before that I coordinated with the buildings, and that 2,600 representatives came out and met with residents of all of those buildings. Paragraph five basically characterizes briefly the discussions that took place in those meetings. And it basically says, the greatest concerns, the concerns that people heard about were traffic, confusion, congestion, and whatever. And it characterizes when 2,600 made sort of rebutted and said, well, we're pretty sure we have more than enough parking capacity. We think our valet plan will address concerns about confusion or congestion or bad, people hitting each other. And it's just sort of a historical background, as is number six. And as I said at our last meeting, Brian Friedman, and I'll give Brian credit, he's been good to work with, volunteered at those meetings various commitments to try to work with the residents for the parking. Ensure there's both adequate parking and everything else. And part two here lists those commitments. It talks about the building collaborating with ANC, which will probably be me, and the residents to understand the parking situation and evaluate ways to make it better. And one of the things they're going to look at whether or not they can use another entrance to the garage off of New Hampshire Avenue. Paragraph C indicates that Watergate West residents now use 20 parking spaces on one level, 27 on the other level, and the office building commits to assuring the same number of spaces will be available in the future. Paragraph D commits the office building commits to a rate reduction for parkers. And this is a good faith commitment. I think a lot of people will appreciate that. And to cap parking rates at the CPI for at least the next 10 years. The other commitments about floral landscaping are the same. The office building commits their retaining the proposed parking system for up to 15 years, at least 15 years. A lot of people were concerned they were going to promise something and then come a year or two later, the valet system disappears. The final changes in paragraph G are basically the office building agrees to collaborate and work towards both new entrances and propose other ways to make sure the parking system works well. And that paragraph gives us the flexibility if they propose to want to drop the proposed valet system, we could work out other ways to go forward in a way that would be safe for everybody. There's a mediation provision. It's a standard in these things, and a separability provision, which is pretty standard. So, any questions?
Any questions or comments from colleagues? Seeing no questions or comments from colleagues, if you're a member of the public and you have a question or comment about this item, please raise your hand and we'll promote you to a panelist. Two members of the public have raised their hand. Three now have raised their hand. We'll promote you one at a time.
And I should say, I believe Brian Friedman is attending as well. If he's necessary to answer some questions, I'm sure he'd be happy to do so.
Okay. John George, you've been promoted.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. And Ed, thank you for reviewing the resolution. It sounds like you've done a lot of work on various elements. I don't know details, so I'm just going to put a piece of information out there to see if it's been discussed, which is I understand there is some common, I don't know if it's considered common area costs, either with the boiler or with heating and cooling or whatever. How was that addressed, if at all?
There is the buildings, most of the buildings use common heating and cooling. There is an extensive contract covering that and covering what happens if there are changes. I spoke to the buildings and they asked that they felt that the contract would address the issues. I understand Mr. Friedman spoke with the building presidents today, and I think everybody felt this was not really a zoning commission issue, but a contract issue.
Okay, so there's no need to augment the resolution that you're
Right.
putting forward.
So at one time I was considering addressing it, but it's really not a zoning
Okay.
issue.
And then a quick second is you mentioned the museum at the top of the resolution,
Yes.
but it's intent, but not obligation. So how do you think that, if at all, gets resolved over the future?
Brian can answer this in some ways. In speaking to Brian, I think he would love to have a museum there. But part of the question of whether or not a museum will be there is whether or not there's enough financing for somebody to, support the museum. And that's why it's phrased in terms of intent at this point in time.
Yeah, so intent will mean, yeah, viability, but is it also placement? Or is
Um,
that kind of up in the air?
There was space for the museum in on the first floor of the building that was presented to the building neighbors. It's not part of the zoning application, but there is space there for a museum and a coffee shop nearby.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
but it's intent and, the museum has to, it's a two-sided thing in that sense. And I think, a lot of Watergate residents would love to see a museum. Um, I think it's fair to expect it to be viable in some way or another. So we didn't go much further than that.
Some work to be done. And lastly, is there,
Okay,
do you know,
no, John, you've already asked 4 questions. We still have other people to get through.
all right, hopefully I can return in. Thank you.
Okay, next panelist, please. Hi, Maura, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'm Maura Godinez. I live in Watergate East. I'm the co-chair of the subcommittee which deals with neighborhood issues. I'm here this evening because the members of Watergate East Board of Directors are actually holding their regularly scheduled monthly meeting this evening and unfortunately cannot attend, so I'm attending in their stead. WAI issues with the 2600 Virginia Avenue proposed conversion, which affect the Watergate East, is in fact a major agenda item for this meeting that is going on at this time. Given the multiple issues that have been already covered with the shared infrastructure, shared parking, etc., our board is reviewing the potentially significant impact that the conversion is likely to have on Watergate Complex and surrounding area. Therefore, the Watergate East actually urges that the Friedman Partners' April 30th request for a zoning commission approval for modification include a public hearing, because we don't know what other issues may arise as a result of the meeting this evening, and the public hearing is in 2 days. Thank you.
I'll give you my comment on that. My review of the regulations, the zoning, this is my independent review of the zoning regulations and of prior case law affecting the Watergate particularly because there was a major litigation involving the hotel several years ago. My view is that it would be very unlikely that the zoning commission will grant a request for a hearing based on the proposal that is submitted, because to be honest, the primary impacts of the proposal take place within the premises of the existing building. And my read of this was it's better to have an agreement on issues we know about than to have nothing. And that's why I've chosen to move forward with this. And I have been in contact with the Watergate East folks. I didn't know their board meeting was tonight, but I'm sort of wondering what would you cover in a hearing and other than the issues that have been discussed on the common areas of both parking and heating and cooling, which we are aware about. I'm one who believes in government efficiency, and the zoning commission regulations for a PUD here really don't give a lot of flexibility unless you can show an impact that I haven't heard about yet. So I believe it's the prudent thing to protect the interests of the concerns we know about is to move forward.
Hi, Adrian. You've been promoted. You have to take yourself off mute.
Thank you. I think I did take myself off mute. Can you hear me? Yes, not?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. My name is Adrienne Lawrence. I am a resident in Watergate East. I am also co-chair of Main Street and Foggy Bottom West End, and I've had a number of interactions with Brian that have been incredibly interesting and educational, and also in a number of meetings about the proposal for 2600. So I think that there are several different issues. The first one is the historic importance of the sixth floor. So one of the things that we're concerned about is changing the nature of the way that the sixth floor is used. There are multiple ideas of how we could make sure that the historic nature of the sixth floor is preserved. If the historic floor is going to be preserved, then does Brian plan to use any historical credit and any funds towards the project? And if he isn't going to preserve part of the sixth floor, then how would he be able to justify any historical credits, the current historic nature of his marketing, and what he claims is most important about the building? Second, I think the least important thing about the building and the project right now is parking, because as Brian has pointed out on numerous times, parking is not an issue. What is, however, an issue are traffic patterns that are going to be created around the building because of where the different points of drop off for valet parking, and then also where people will actually need to enter to be able to get into the parking garage. They are on opposite sides of the way that traffic runs. So it'll either create instances for illegal U-turns, dangerous U-turns, possibly blocking traffic for Watergate West. So there needs to be a traffic study, and it could be something that we could address in a hearing. That would be a very useful part of that. The third thing is that the power plant and the agreement is not only contractual. There are DC regulations that are requiring the entire complex and a number of other places around DC to reduce the amount of power used. So if contractual obligations change in the way that the fixed costs for the power plant are covered by the different entities in the complex, that could also change the mathematics of what is calculated for the required reductions in power. And that is beyond contract because that's a government regulation. So I think that the opportunities to discuss these issues, in addition to other issues that could come up from people who are specialty in this area, and not being able to discuss this in a public forum with all of our leaders is actually quite limiting and short-sighted.
I will let Brian respond to you on the first issue and a little bit on the third issue because he has spoken to the leaders about those issues. As to your points about the roads and the dangers of circumnavigation, I did not emphasize that, but in my summary of the MOU, but that is a critical part of the reasons that we have asked for a parking plan, and that one of the things the MOU does is propose to investigate the feasibility of allowing vehicles that leave the residential entrance to enter the garage either on New Hampshire Avenue or F Street, so that they don't have to do that complex circumnavigation around Virginia Avenue and try to reduce the incidence of the very problems you talked about cars going the wrong way on Virginia Avenue. That issue is covered in the MOU. And I'll let Brian address the others. Again, as to the heating plants, the buildings urged me not to address those issues. So I did what they asked me to do.
Further questions or comments from members of the public? Star 9 if you're on the phone. Okay, seeing Commissioner Gifford?
Thank you, Chair Patel. Can we clarify whether we're going to hear from Mr. Friedman or not?
I was not going to have Mr. Friedman speak unless Commissioner Comer wanted that.
No, I asked Commissioner Friedman, his hand is up, and I had asked that he respond to, the concerns that Adrian raised.
Okay. Edie Schaus, go ahead and promote Mr. Friedman, please. Mr. Friedman, you've been promoted. You just have to take yourself off mute.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I appreciate everybody's time and everybody's energy. And I come in with a peace flag here. I don't want to do anything controversial. I'm a generational owner that is going to be with this property, hopefully, as long as something can be done to save it. The host would promote you to be a panelist. Join us. Can you hear me? Just came up. Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
we can't hear you,
So,
Mr. Friedman.
yeah, so I'm 47 years old, and I'm gonna live and own this property till I die, and then pass it down to my grandchildren. And so I will not enter into a battle. I will not enter into a disagreement. I will not enter into anything where there is any negative hostilities and frustrations with what I'm doing. I want to be authentic, and I heard that the things that have people said on this call, and it's disappointing, and it hurts my feelings, but I appreciate it, and I respect where they are coming from. So what I'm trying to do is something that is accretive, it's trying to save the property, it's trying to improve the property. But if this is going to do something that's going to create opposition, I don't want to do that, because I want to be there as a long-term owner. And the things that people said are just blatantly wrong. And I like to go one by one so there isn't any confusion on those issues. You know what I'm saying? Because no one is being displaced, and everything that we are trying to do with this project, it should be an enhancement and an improvement from where we are, or we're not doing it, period. Number one, with the traffic patterns and the use of valet is only meant to be an improvement from what is there today, not a requirement by any means. The amount of traffic that is going to be going through is going to decrease and not increase by this. The amount of available parking that would be available to the community via the residents and everything else is going to only go up, because in the current office use, for an example, one floor, the 6th floor alone, takes 60 parking spaces. So there will be a huge reduction in parking demand. And the use of having human beings in the alleyways and the driveways is not there to do anything but to improve things for the deliveries, for the speed, for the cleanliness, because we want to put flowers there. We want to make sure trash is picked up. We want to help traffic that is going in and out, because there's hotel, there's employees, and there's a lot of things happening in that alleyway. Right now, there isn't a human being. Many years ago, when I got involved with the property, there was a human being before COVID. And now we are making a dedication, and we are going to pay for it. I'm going to pay for it as this long-term generational owner. Okay, that's going to be here with my grandchildren's generation. And I see a problem in that alley. So by doing this project, I'm using this as an opportunity to fix it and make it better. And I've asked for instructions. I've asked for proffers. I've asked things that I can do to the community, that I can do to the ANC, that I can do for the hotel, that I can do for the neighbors to help improve in any way by making this project happen. So that is how we got there on the driveway. And if there's any other special request and things of how you want to handle it, I'm open-minded, because I'm not going into this. I'm not going to do it if the ANC and you people are not with me, right? You need to be the wind in my sail, because if you're in opposition, you win. Keep it as an office building. You know what I'm saying? Keep it as an office building. I might lose it as an office building, but somebody else will buy it. That was your choice. All right. I will not do this in opposition. Number two, it's very
Mr.
important to
Friedman?
know.
Mr. Friedman, this is Chair Patel.
Yes, Mrs. Patel.
I need you to wrap this up. The timer has gone off. So.
Well,
please-
Miss Patel, I'm almost done. Thank you. 30 seconds, please. Number two, all the talk about the plant is absolutely ridiculous talk. We are entered into an agreement. We are not changing that agreement. The idea that we are going to be using less power and that's going to be a problem is absolutely ridiculous. Okay, I want to be clear. We're going to be using plenty of power. It's just not going to be as much power as what an office user uses with their servers and their computers. But there will still be demand. And we will honor those agreements. And lastly, we want to give proffers, we want to improve, and we challenge the ANC to bring something to the table so they can be supportive of this project. And we want to go forward tomorrow, and we do not want this opposition. So we need your support. And if you can't be supportive, you are killing the project, and we will walk away. So I leave it to you guys to vote to support this. I want you to know I'm going to stay being your neighbor, and I yield my time, and thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Friedman, and okay, that's gone. Commissioner Gifford, recognizing you.
Thank you, Chair Patel. I'm hoping I can just clarify a couple things with Commissioner Comer. I think I've heard two core issues, one being parking and one being the utility plant or the power plant within the building. And I think I understand, Commissioner Comer, from your explanation and from reading through the MOU that the parking provisions are explicitly addressed and stated to in the MOU, and that the power plant, the utility provisions were specifically asked to not be included in this resolution by the parties. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. That's
And,
very
and when I
helpful.
say parking, in recognition of Adrian's point, it's both parking and sort of driveway congestion and
Yes.
traffic
Yes, I
outside.
understood it. I understood the issue broadly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions or comments from colleagues? Okay, seeing no further questions or comments from colleagues on the matter, I'm going to go ahead and move this to a vote, going by division of the House, starting in numerical order.
Commissioner Gifford votes yes.
Chair Patel is a yes.
Commissioner Comer's a yes.
Commissioner Dolan's a yes.
Jim, you're muted.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, matter passes with unanimous consent.
I want to thank my colleagues. I want to thank everyone else. I want to thank the members of the public. I am sympathetic to the comments that Adrian raised about the historic nature of the sixth floor, and not necessarily as a representative of the ANC, but I will continue to talk with Brian about the sixth floor, just so you all know, is where the Democratic National Committee offices were during the break-in. And I think it's worth continuing to talk about that in some way or another. And I'll certainly continue encouraging support for the Watergate Museum. Thank you all.
All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is actually under me. It is titled as a report from Chair Patel, but it is actually not a report. It is to state that in our last meeting, things got a little heated and contentious with all colleagues, and I committed an infraction that I was not aware of. Had I been notified and pointed out during the meeting that I committed the infraction, I would have rendered an apology immediately. Commissioner Malik stated a point of order. I did not realize he stated a point of order, and I gavelled him down. And that is an error on my part. Had I realized he said point of order, I would have not done that. So I want to acknowledge that I made an error in that. And so I apologize not only to my colleague, Commissioner Malik, I apologize to the rest of my colleagues on the dais, and I also apologize to stakeholders and members of the public. That is not something I tend to do, which is make mistakes, but we are all human and mistakes are made. And so the minute the infraction was pointed out, I made it a point to render the apology in the next public meeting, which happened to be this one. So that is it. That's all I wanted to say. Commissioner Gifford, yeah, I wasn't really going to take comments or anything. I just wanted to.
No, I'm
state my
not
apology.
commenting, Chair Patel. I was just going to say, I was raising my hand simply to thank you for your statement.
Okay. So there being no further business to be conducted, the time is 6:42. We are adjourning. We will be meeting for our next regularly scheduled meeting, which is Wednesday, May 20th at 7 p.m. happening virtually. So we'll see you on the 20th. Thank you and have a
Thank
good
you
night.
all. Thank you.
Bye now.
Okay, bye-bye.